How are you today?
I'm good. How are you?
Awesome. So, we first met when you knocked on my door, and
Mhm.
I had a friend over. I was just saying goodbye to him, so I didn't even get a chance to talk. And one of the things that I had thought about was I was just door knocking at a bunch of neighborhoods, including mine. I hit 400 doors in, Bollinger Hills, and also I'd been in the Windermere area recently too. And I thought, what a good opportunity to actually talk to someone. I haven't had anyone else do that, and I'm not here to put one way or the other any political beliefs at all, but I did really appreciate someone knocking on my door, giving me the opportunity to talk to them, and I didn't get that chance at that moment. So I thought, what a great time just to basically pretend that this would have been that opportunity, right? Where you came, you had your flyer or your door knocker, and if I had more time, then you would have given it to me, and I could have looked at some of the things that you said, and then that would have been a great opportunity just to have a conversation. And so rather than it being some specific, defined, I'm asking questions, just like the conversation you want to be able to have with everybody else, and maybe it might save you some time than knocking on countless doors all the time and being able to get the message out there also. So if you knocked on my door and you just wanted to start telling me about yourself, and then maybe I'd like to just be able to kind of ask those four questions of the points that you made on this door knocker, and I'd love to just hear about it.
Yeah, well, thank you so much. I really appreciate it. Appreciate you being open. It's interesting experience at the doors, right? It's a little bit scary as
Right.
well because you never know what you might get. And one of the nicest things has been that people have been so warm and kind, and that's important, right?
Yeah.
And I've been invited to dinners and I've been invited to desserts. To
That's
come and
awesome.
have tea. So,
Yeah.
it's if anything, right, just this experience of getting to know your neighbors
Hmm.
is always phenomenal. And election time is a great time to kind of get out and do that. That's where I
Right.
get my energy. I'm like, this is exactly what I'm doing. So
Yeah, that's awesome. Good. I'm glad that you've had a positive experience too, because door knocking at first, I come from the world of law enforcement. So,
yeah,
for me, when I would knock on someone's door, it was always kind of like, well, the worst that could happen is the worst that could happen, right? And then now that I'm
yeah.
in real estate, I knock on people's doors and I'm kind of a little still, feeling the old the old career a little bit. And then they answer, and almost everybody's been nice, especially in San Ramon. It's been awesome. So well, good. I guess, one of the first things was, I saw it said that you want to make San Ramon a hub for technology and the jobs they generate. So for me, I moved here when I was, 4 years old in 1989, and I've certainly seen changes. Before it was like Marriott was there was no Target, no Whole Foods. There's a lot that's changed. So what does it mean to you to make it, a hub for technology and the jobs that they generate?
Yeah. And so I've lived here now 16 years. So I moved in 2006, and it was an interesting time because Doherty Valley was just starting out.
Yeah.
So I bought one of the first townhomes there, and I moved with my kids, and I actually started my career here in San Ramon, got my first job where I used to commute, take BART to the city, to Oakland. Then there was a time I was working in Foster City, so there's no public transportation, and I was
Yeah.
driving. So I dealt with a lot of those commute issues and the
Mhm.
work-life balance issues that get created for families because we've been such a commuter city as well, right? People
Right.
leave and then, they come back in the evening, they close their garage and they don't talk to their neighbors and it starts the next day.
Yeah.
Um, one of the reasons I was able to get involved more in local government and is that I started working with a company 7, 8 years ago where I didn't have to travel anymore. I could work remote, which now during the pandemic, everybody experienced and they're like,
Yeah.
oh, where was this all my life?
Right.
And so for me, like it truly, that connected me back into my community. I started, serving on some committees. I was more involved and engaged. I had more time for my family and my kids,
Hmm.
cooking dinner and going for walks and things like that. So my goal always has been and is, and I think COVID accelerated that, where people truly saw what it meant to still have jobs in your local communities
Hmm.
and not have to get people on buses essentially to take them to large campuses. And people are refusing to give up their work-life balance now.
Yeah.
So it's an opportune time for San Ramon, right? we have people, we have a highly educated community, we have
Mhm.
people working in tech. And I've been having conversations with Amazon, and my day job is with Oracle, and some of these other large companies, and saying, what could make San Ramon kind of be, where you create pods? And I've talked to some
Yeah.
folks, right, that are planning the future of work. And they see kind of these clusters or pods where people who live in a community actually get together, something like a WeWork or a local office.
Yeah.
And then there is obviously, where technology is going. Health tech is becoming a big thing. There are a lot of opportunities for some of these companies to even, locate smaller campuses to
Yeah.
San Ramon. And what happens is that when you create a technology job, you actually create 5 other jobs around it. Like this
Okay.
is statistically proven that a tech worker attracts 5 service workers. You go to the gym, you get your haircut, you go to the restaurant,
Sure.
you probably need a nanny for your kids or something like that. And you go and retail and shopping or
Mhm.
something like that. So that's what I meant when I said, like, I would like to make San Ramon that hub. And we essentially, by way of our residents, are that center anyways. And what are the jobs we also create, right? So
Yeah.
create a whole community, in essence, right? Which services people and which also allows people to live in their communities. So that's my
Wow.
dream vision, and getting a seat at the table with some of these large companies and their boards and saying, let's look at, bringing some of these to San Ramon, or creating your cluster, as if you will, in San Ramon. So that's
Absolutely.
my vision.
That's great. I mean, and, being someone that's been here as long as I have, I have pretty good like intimate knowledge of and even how the community breaks up with, I remember when San Ramon stopped at like Club Sport at the top of Bollinger. It was
That's
Doherty
right.
was a small little road that went out to Dublin. And at that point, a lot of people, when Chevron, they're here for Chevron, they're here. A lot of people, even 3 people on my block, were working at the Livermore lab. There's these big, hubs where people worked. We'll flash forward into when Windermere gets built, and so many people are there, especially for Doherty Valley schools. There's so many families that are there for
Mhm.
the schools nearby, but so many people I'm meeting work out in Silicon Valley.
Yeah,
And so they are, gone a lot of those portions of the day. When I'm knocking on those doors, it's true.
yeah,
And so how can we bring more people in here, or have some sort of balance, like you said, with work life, where people are able to be there with their family because that's the reason that they're there, and
yeah.
they're leaving to work their life away from their family who they're really trying to provide for. So I think that'd be great. Um, so bringing into the next one is develop a plan to address a shrinking tax base and reinvest in our aging shopping centers.
Yes.
Definitely hear the aging shopping centers one.
Yeah.
I mean, I recognize the same stuff since I was young, the same looking things. And I go, when is it going to look newer?
Yeah. And, interestingly, somebody also referenced a Wall Street article yesterday on our council meeting. I went and looked it up, and it said people are actually going back to retail centers, and retail centers are having a revival. But
Okay.
that revival is pretty much taking those old centers and reviving them to be more of these gathering spaces, right?
Oh,
I
interesting.
like to
Okay.
call them gathering spaces because people will come. City Center, in my opinion, is doing amazing. It's
Mhm.
become a gathering space for people to get there, to take their kids, to walk around, and
Yeah.
then they grab an ice cream or a coffee, or a sandwich or something. And but that's one space. We have San Ramon's become large enough where we've got multiple neighborhoods, and
Yeah.
every neighborhood has this ugly looking strip mall, if you will, right?
Sure.
That hasn't been invested in, that hasn't been, done a whole lot.
Yeah.
My goal, I mean, there's a couple of ideas that I have of practically making it happen. Number one is, of course, trying to see, as we are planning for the future of housing, we generally have these fees that we will per unit fee that we charge our builders for, building those housing.
Mhm.
That has historically gone towards either parking mitigation, or it's gone towards the parks and other, things. We could totally, change those fees to start into economic development, put it towards an
Okay.
economic development, right? That means the city will update the infrastructure, give an incentive to the shopping center owners to upgrade this by perhaps
Yeah.
creating some infrastructure around it, which makes it more walkable and more kind of focused inwards versus a parking lot in the middle with shops surrounding it, right?
Right. Okay.
And the second thing is, I've talked to some folks that actually know the shopping center owners, and they said sometimes just sit down and have a conversation. It's as simple as that. Tell
Yeah.
them your vision, where you want to go with this. And so I want to see how we can use some of the tools that we already have
Mhm.
and divert them towards economic development, because it is going to be very important, right? Along with our parks, we won't be able to maintain our parks if we don't have the tax dollars.
Right.
And so we have a huge leakage problem in San Ramon of revenue because our residents are spending that same money outside. And this
Mhm.
is all data driven. This is all consultant reports that have come to us. And even the consultants have recommended. They're like, you have a core already. If you reinvest, you're going to get more benefit versus trying to rebuild. So that's
Right.
my vision. I'm hoping we can do that as we plan for the future of San Ramon.
Yeah, no, I can see that, especially just me going to the city center, the different kinds of services that are there. It kind of really hits the spectrum because, like you said, get a coffee there, sandwich, there's ice cream, there's a gym, there's clothing stores, and it's good stuff too. And while you're there, you are in that middle part of it, and you're looking around and you're seeing everything, and you got to pass those stores to leave anyway. Again, right? So I think that that's a great idea versus being in that central parking lot and then maybe just going in and out of CVS or in and out of Safeway or
Yeah.
something like that. So cool. I was going to save it to the end, but one thing, now that you've mentioned parks a couple times, and maybe you don't have the answer, but it's something that I've been thinking about since I have two daughters, is swings are so loud at each of the parks, and they squeak so loud. And every time I go there, I always think, if I just had like WD-40 or a lubricant or something, I don't know if that's something that I can like fight for or talk to the parks department. Like,
Absolutely
is there a
right.
reason for it? Do we not lube them for a safety purpose, or because they are so loud and then no one wants to hear them at all? It's like you don't want your kids in the swings anymore.
Yeah. Well, you remember what parks used to be when we were growing up? Like those would be a hazard now, especially the one where you sat on it and just shook it.
Right.
So,
Yeah. Either
parks
wood or just hot metal. It's
and the
horrible.
slides that were just hot metal and
Yeah.
it burned you
Yeah.
if you were wearing a dress. So I
Absolutely.
think parks have gone through an evolution, and it would absolutely be a very valid point for you to reach out, right to the city, or,
Mhm.
you can directly write to me and I can forward it to our parks director to say, we
Okay.
have a problem with the swings. How are we thinking, the future of these swings?
Yeah. It
There
sounds
might
like
be,
a little thing, but it is like,
it
I'll
is,
look and then I see the other parents, they're looking, and it's like you almost don't want kids on the swings because it's so loud.
yeah, yeah. And there might be new material and new ways of doing
Sure.
swings, right? Because these things are always changing and getting
Right.
over time.
Yeah.
So yeah, absolutely.
Okay. Thanks. So going into the third one, it says requested county tax dollars to make San Ramon a test city for new mobility options, including bikes and scooters.
Yeah, so when I got elected in 2018, one of my passions and what my ask to city manager was, can we get shared bikes in San Ramon, because it would encourage people to perhaps sometimes and not
Mhm.
always be driving. And we explored that option, but it didn't quite get us anywhere. There were still issues on how it's going to all work out and everything. And then the county, earlier this year, the county came up, or maybe a couple of years ago, actually, with mobility as a service plan. They presented that to us and said we could potentially make San Ramon a hub for, we can start off with San Ramon and roll out this mobility plan, in San Ramon first. And so San Ramon would be the test city. And so we voted for that. We requested the county dollars. So we will have very shortly, hopefully within a month, we will have bird bikes and bird scooters.
Oh,
Obviously, you
cool.
have to be over 18 to ride those. Electric bikes, which are not fully electric, but are the ones where you have to, kind of, I forget what the term is called, but you have to push on them. They need
Yeah.
some
Pedal a
human
few
power.
times.
Yeah, some human power to become
Yeah.
electric. But we'll have those bikes within San Ramon, and that is going to be the county basically funding that project. to be tested in San Ramon as the first city in Contra Costa County.
That
And
is
so I
cool.
was super excited, having been to other cities, and they've improved it, right? So they're addressing the issue, which was, littering all around the city, leaving bikes and scooters.
Mhm.
So now we're told it's like a franchise model where the
Okay,
franchise actually lives in the community, and Bird has a couple that, they will be
interesting.
notified if there's an issue and they'll go pick it up. So it'll be a great pilot plan, and we're very
Yeah.
fortunate, that the city council, everybody supported that plan to say, let's do it here.
Yeah, that sounds awesome. I mean, I know the huge difference of what it used to be to drive up Bollinger or Crow Canyon or across El Costa. And right now I usually tell people, hey, depending on the time of day, I can get up, to the other side in 5 minutes or 18. I don't know. It just depends on how many cars. So any other way to have more people have that foot traffic, maybe take the Iron Horse Trail or something, I think would be, and then besides just environmental, it would save for traffic, which would be awesome. I would like
Yeah.
it. And then going into the fourth one is one that I have a little bit of experience with, but it's, that you support license plate readers, neighborhood crime prevention efforts, and more resources and training for police. So before I put my opinion in there, because I do have one, I would, love to hear what you think about it and what it means to
Yeah,
you.
and this again, when I got elected on council, I was part of the infrastructure committee, and the chief brought a number of camera options to us. License plate readers were one of those. In the past, we've had, pushback from the community about cameras, but I think now we live in a world where cameras are kind of the norm. I was also hearing from our residents that said, look, how can we make sure that our neighborhoods are protected? And they're petty crimes too, right? Somebody's gonna go open your mailbox, and in the morning you wake up and all the mailboxes are open. It's a small thing, but it does scare you, right? That somebody
Mhm.
was there at night in my neighborhood. And so basically, when we decided to, we've got about 36 cameras from what I remember.
Mhm.
We've got flocks, and we've got license plate readers and a couple of others. And then we can also connect with residents' cameras if they choose to share that information. So and some of my actually communities, my HOA is actually putting in some of those cameras as well. And so the idea is, how do we connect and make sure that if there is a crime, that we are able to prevent and kind of make sure that we are able to follow and not let anybody leave in and out of San Ramon if they've committed
Yeah.
a crime. I don't know if you remember, this was last maybe about 8-10 months ago. We had somebody from Florida who had come into our town
Mhm.
and was was in the community, and the license plate readers were there, so they were able to detect that. I know there are some concerns about license plate readers and how they can be tricked and stuff. We're continuously working with the technology to make sure that we're upgraded, and we kind of have the latest software to make sure that we're able to read these properly, and any of the issues that arise are the concerns. But
Yeah.
really, we're not collecting any personal information. We're not storing this data for long period. It is only retrieved if it's needed.
Mhm.
While we're protecting the privacy of our residents, we're also making sure that we're providing safety.
Yeah.
In addition to that, right, training, and we've built a brand new police station. We had a partnership with the fire department, and they
Yeah.
invested a lot of money. And it has a number of training rooms, right? As things are changing, as communities are changing, as policing is changing, right? How do we make sure that our police officers also have the right training and the right tools to make them successful?
Yeah.
Um, Captain, what is Chief Denton is our new chief now. Amazing, wonderful guy, very community focused. Because we truly need and people love our PD because they're so embedded within the community, and
Yeah.
that's kind of a relationship that most communities would aspire for, that we have.
Yeah. Oh, there's no doubt about that. Coming from a local agency out here, first, I'm not, this is even a political opinion. This is just me sharing, as a citizen, being in San Ramon for this long, I am able to share my opinion about that. And, I know a lot of people with license plate readers were feeling like, well, privacy is an issue. But really, I mean, you'd have to have thousands of, officers at one time to be able to look at every single one of these things if it was up to their personal, opinions to try to go after people. It's not even like that. There were so many times that there was high-speed chases of dangerous suspects who would be coming from, a northern part of Contra Costa County, and we would know when they entered our city. So if they were able to get away from CHP, where are they going? They're gonna, we'd say bail out, but they're gonna bring their car into your local neighborhood and get out. And what are they gonna do? Try to hide. They're gonna go towards someone's backyard or house. So one of the best things we could do is put an alert, very quickly know if this dangerous person is entering a neighborhood, they cross that stoplight, the plate goes off, we know where they are and we can protect, citizens. And it was huge. And it had nothing to do with anybody spying on anybody because it's all logged in. And
Yeah.
anytime a police officer or anybody tries to look at someone's plate, it is recorded. They know exactly who they looked at, exactly when, and you have to have a reason to do it. So I think those are awesome for the community. They're great for just the safety, but also, there's sometimes people that within the community too get lost.
Yeah.
If they're in a car, they're just depending on, different types of health emergencies. It really has so much to do with safety and helping and being able to either help someone that needs it or stop a threat when it's entering our city. And
Yeah.
we were able to share it with Danville and other neighboring communities. And it's a communication effort to really not have that crime be seen here when it doesn't have to, if it can be stopped.
Yeah. I
Which
mean,
is
we had a
awesome.
missing kids issue, right, in our community, and
Yeah,
we were able to use the cameras to locate the kids, find them, and know that they were still in the community. They were safe. They just, they were being kids.
and it happens.
Yeah, the community was concerned, and it's like, yes, we know they're safe,
Yeah,
but we have to do the right thing here as well. So,
absolutely. And even with more police training, I think, the more funding that can go, and this is also from personal experience, is finding ways that the fire department and police can do a lot of joint training. In my previous job, while I was at Alameda County Sheriff's Office, I was one of the deputies that was with the Homeland Security Exercise and Evaluation Program, where what we did is we helped plan this large scale event called Urban Shield that involved 9,000 volunteers, but SWAT teams. There was urban search and rescue, maritime search and rescue, hazmat, your CERT, community emergency response teams. We got everybody in the community, and we saw a huge leaps forward in comparison to many other parts of the country when we were able to involve, unfortunately, that we have to train for active shooter situations within schools, parks, other places that it's too bad that it's reality, but it is. And when law enforcement and fire were able to kind of train together with these types of situations, it was their ability to communicate was just far beyond other places. And California was way ahead of the rest of the country. And so if there's something that we could see with that too, and promoting that, is I'll pay as much money for as much training as possible, because it will benefit all of us.
yeah. And then now with mental health, I don't know if you've heard, right? We have a great partnership, and it's one of the first that our fire department proposed, and we really, are partnering where if there is a mental health situation, then basically, the PD is staged, then fire goes ahead and, talks to the resident, and we're rolling out that pilot program. And again, very tight partnership. We're very fortunate,
Yeah.
like they will literally be sitting in the same building, right? Fire on one side, PD
Right.
on the other. No community can ask for something more, right? Your EOC center is right there.
Yeah.
What does that mean? It means that if you have an emergency, the fire and PD will be there in seconds,
Yeah.
right? Literally in seconds. So we're able to offer all of these amenities, one, because of, like you said, that amazing partnership that we have between departments, and then making sure, right, mental health has become a bigger and bigger issue. And it was, police officers need to be trained on this because they don't, it didn't come with that book before. And so as our issues are changing, as the communities are changing, and we're able to provide better training, it makes them better equipped to be able to handle these situations, right? You've been in these shoes, so sometimes you have to be a psychologist, sometimes you have to be a therapist, because
all of it. You're everyone. You're the best friend, you're the uncle, you're the, it's absolutely true. And I think it's the hard part of the conversation, in my experience, is that as a police officer, law enforcement, when you hear, hey, someone else is going to be dealing with this instead of me, it usually, on the defensive side, it sounds like you don't think I'm good at it. You don't think I can do it. Well, who's the one that always has to do it? It's always me. And then the other part is, they look and they go, every time we show up, we have to be the police officer. We have to be the lawyer. We have to be the psychologist, the, clinician. We have to do everything. And we're the ones that always deal with it. So we know what to do. Have fun when you go in there. We're going to have to save you. And that's the defensive side of it, right? And then the other part of it for them is like, oh, good, someone else will deal with it finally. But hopefully we don't have to go in and rescue them, right? And so I think that's, like you said, it's that partnership, being able to rely on someone else or another team or something to be there with each other, working together. So that guard is let down, because then in the community, especially with the past few years, there's been so much, a lot of two different sides, right? Is that a lot of people in the community say, well, every time you go in, we're scared because you come off as, maybe you're going to do something. I want someone who's not going to be so scary. So trying to meet everybody to make everybody happy, it's really difficult. But
Yeah.
I know, nothing ever happens unless there's a little bit of a push or a little bit of shove. So this is the first time I've heard that idea with having fire go in, but I think it's great, because then at least the officers know that, hey, the more that they communicate with fire, the more that they get involved with them, the more training that they share, they're going to know the people going in. They're going to know the personalities, just like they're, another teammate, which historically is not police and fire's relationship, which most people don't know, but usually it's actually like this. And everyone says, oh, they're all heroes. Like, oh, there's definitely something going on. But to have that more involved, I think will be tremendous. And then getting the message out there for people to understand, how and why, and not that you're taking a job from somebody, but you're trying to make the best of every situation you can. So I think that's a great idea. And, I can't wait more about
And
it.
it was awesome because the police chief and the fire chief, they both brought it in front of the council and said, look, we're proposing we should do something like this in San Ramon. We would test it out. If it works out, we would just like your support on this. So we're like,
awesome.
You guys are the experts. You're bringing this to us. We're very happy to support you there. So
cool.
Yeah.
Well, is there anything else at all that you wanted to address or talk about? Just like this was a door knocking, like anything before, I go back into my home that you would want everybody to know?
Yeah, well, I tell people I'm Sabina. I've been on the council the last 4 years. I've been in the community for 16 years, raised both my kids actually. When I moved here, my younger one was 4 and the older one was 9, and now the one is 20 and going to college. The other is 25 and he's working now. So they've both built their, lives. And I've started with a PTA mom. I was the Girl Scout mom. I've served on our committees. I've served on the council the last 4 years. And really, I am stepping up now to be the next mayor, is because I think San Ramon needs that at this time. Somebody who understands where we come from, but somebody who's also planning for the next 10 years.
Yeah, that's important.
And with the experience, right? So I've been working with staff the last 4 years, getting things done. So they trust me as well. That's the hard part. People don't understand that council is the policy-making body and staff is who does all the work. And unless you have a good working relationship, right? And they listen to you and they trust you, you can't move things. So it's a 2-year term. As mayor, you can continue to run for another 3 terms, but it is, I'm at a point where I know we can get a lot of things done. I would love to bring a parade to San Ramon, for example. That's what I've been working towards the last 4 years, is how do we get something that brings our community together, that celebrates the community. And parade is one of those, right? Everybody's promised me they're going to bring their team, their Rotary, their club to, if we do a parade, because we're the only Tri-Valley city that don't do it. And I want to make sure we're also looking at, like I said, the future of San Ramon is so dependent on making the right choices between giving families a balance, but making sure that we also have the revenues to be able to serve our residents. I sit on the finance subcommittee, And we do have, problem with revenue. We are not, our pace in revenues is not up with the population growth. So if we need to fix the potholes, if we want to make sure the trees are, cut every year, if we want to make sure our parks are, watered and our swings are fixed, all of that needs money. And we want to make sure that we balance that through retail versus putting a tax or something back on the residents.
Right.
And so what I would just say, I ask that you vote before November 8th. Ballots should be getting dropped in your mailboxes this week. So it's crunch time, 27 days till the election, and hoping to earn your vote here in San Ramon. And
Awesome. Thank you so much. I really appreciate it. And I hope to hear more from you soon.
thank you so much. I really appreciate the opportunity as well.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Nice
Have
to
a
meet
great
you.
day.
All right, bye.